you are supposed to be operating with a prophetic map, which is something God has spoken. Let me give a testimony before we begin to pray. For those of you that are Nigerians, there is something we call National Youth Service, which is compulsory. Serve the nation for 1 year. So my explanation for the compulsory national service program was an opportunity that God was giving me to find out what next for my life. So I began to fast and pray. That year I fasted for 264 days. And God didn't speak to me on that matter. He spoke about other matters, but he didn't speak on that matter. I rested a little for a few days. And on the 13th of January 2003, at home, I continued the fast. Prayed for 4 hours in the morning, went to church, prayed for 2 hours in church, and I was still feeling that I had not yet filled the requirement of prayer for that day. So I arranged with a friend, and we went to his house and began night vigil. By 1 a.m., the electricity was out. And his house was in such a place where if the electricity goes out and the neighbors have electricity, he can go and change the face in the garage so that there'll be electricity in the building. So he went to the garage to change the face, and an angel of the Lord walked from the wall and began to read a scroll to me. That's the first angelic encounter I had. The scroll of my destiny. It was through that scroll that was read that I discovered that even though I had completed my National Youth Service in Kano, God was saying, go back to Kano. The assignment that I gave. Okay. When I got to Kano, I met some hungry believers, and I was trained to be a teacher of the Bible. So I began to teach the Bible. I began to pray. And the number of people began to multiply until I finished my youth service, so I left them. And what the angel read out was that you have not finished that assignment. You have finished your service. You have not finished. So go back there. So I had to go back to Kano, take a teaching job, because that's the only way my family will know that I'm doing something. It's a family of working class people, so you must be doing something that makes sense to them. So I said, what is what I have for now? I said, okay, okay. That's how they thought I was going there to teach. They didn't know I had an agenda. And the moment I came back, I now discovered the disciples had bound themselves with a fast, that they will not stop fasting until God brings me back. When I saw them, I began to cry. Not because I pitied myself. I said, so these are the people that caused this problem. So we continued. And God began to raise people. God began to do things. For almost 1 year, I lost appetite for food. And it came to pass, I went to work one day and came back. And the angels were waiting for me in the room again. That your time here is accomplished. And they read the scroll of the next phase. And the things that they said came to pass. The number of years came to pass. Let me not bother you with further details. Part of what the angel said was that I was going to have a job. And I will invest in many destinies. And a great network will be formed. That's part of what he said. That it wasn't time for me to go into full-time ministry. That during the time that I'm going to be on that job, God was going to train me to become a full-blown apostle. It took 16 years. 16 years later, I was going to preach in Uyo. And the Lord spoke almost audibly in my hotel room. He said, I've come to set you free. Oh, I asked my wife if I was bound. He said, you have been bound for 16 years. This job you are doing is bondage. I've come to set you free so that where I am, there also will my servant be. If you are not aware that your life was already written before you were formed in your mother's womb, and man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of God. 2 weeks before I became a management staff in the oil industry in Nigeria. 2 weeks. I've risen through all the ranks. All that was left was for me to write an examination. And I knew I don't fail examinations by God's grace. 2 weeks to the exam, the monarch now came and said, resign. This time. It's time for you to take my word to the nations of the world. When God spoke about the United Kingdom, I didn't know anybody. I am living the script he showed me. Because the life of man is supposed to be regulated by the proceeding word of God. I'm going to stop there for now.